So the title of this morning's message is called Ha-Besorah Be-Chochavim. So can you say that with me? Ha-Besorah Be-Chochavim. Chochavim, stars. Stars. Chochavim, the stars. Besorah is the good news. Literally in Hebrew is good news. Okay? So the Besorah, good news. Be in Chochavim, the stars. The gospel in the stars. And we're going to be talking today about the birth of Yeshua. So we had a psalm today, in the liturgy today. I want you to listen very carefully to the words of this psalm. This Psalm 19. Psalm 19. You love this song? Tell me to what it is speaking. Those of you who are familiar with aspects of Judaism, perhaps you might recognize some things here. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament shows his handiwork. Day unto day utters speech, and night unto night reveals knowledge. There is no speech nor language where their voice is not heard. Their line has gone out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. In them he has set a tabernacle, a sukkah, for the sun, which is like a bridegroom coming out of his chamber, and rejoices like a strong man to run its race. It's rising from one end of heaven, and its circuit to the other end, and there is nothing hid from its heat. The Torah of Adonai is perfect, converting the soul. The testimony of Adonai is sure, making wise the simple. The statutes of Adonai are right, rejoicing the heart. The commandment of Adonai is pure, enlightening the eye. The fear of Adonai is clean, enduring forever. The judgments of Adonai are true and righteous altogether. More to be desired are they than gold, than much fine gold, sweeter also than the honey of the honeycomb. Moreover, by them your servant is warned, and in keeping them there is great reward. Who can understand his errors? Cleanse me from my secret faults. Keep back your servants also from presumptuous sin. Let them not have dominion over me. Then I shall be blameless, and I shall be innocent of great transgression. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in your sight, O Adonai, my strength and my Redeemer. Did anybody catch any clues there? Anything? Yes, go ahead, say it. What is that?
Something about coming from one end of the sky, or
okay, the coming of the sun from one end of the sky to the other.
Their voice.
Huh?
It says their voice carries throughout the earth.
Their voice carries throughout the earth, and there is no language or tongue that is spoken that they are not heard. What else? Don't overlook the little stuff. It's actually in the, you know what they say, that
the glory of God, the sky proclaims his handiwork. The sky proclaims his
the devil is in the details. We're not looking for the devil here. But saying what? The details. It's the little things are important.
The sky proclaims his handiwork.
The sky proclaims his handiwork. How about this? Verse 10. More to be desired are they than gold, than much fine gold. Sweeter also than what? Honey. When do we eat honey? On Rosh Hashanah. When do we eat honey? On Rosh Hashanah. This psalm is about Rosh Hashanah. We dip the apple in the honey, and we say what? Shana Tova, have a good year, have a sweet year. May you have a sweet year. He says, the heavens declare the glory of God. The firmament shows forth his handiwork. Day unto day utters speech. Night unto night reveals knowledge. There is no speech nor language where their voice is not heard. Their line has gone out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. In them he set a sukkah, a tabernacle for the sun. The sun represents whom? Mashiach.
That's his star.
That's his star. The day star. The sun represents the Messiah. Notice what the sun is doing. Read very carefully. He which is like a what? A bridegroom. Who is Mashiach? What is his position? He is the groom. And a bridegroom must have a bride. Who is the bride? Am Yisrael. The nation of Israel. The kingdom. So now read it. He, the Mashiach, is like the sun, who's preparing a tabernacle, a sukkah. What do we do on Sukkot? Where? In Sukkahs. In Sukkot. That's why it's called Sukkot, because we dwell in Sukkot. We build little huts, and we go outside and we camp in them to remember the wandering in the wilderness. But while they were dwelling in their Sukkot, what happened? This is when God came down and dwelt among them. Remember Shekinah. What was Shekinah? What was the Shekinah? The presence. It means the presence. It is from this term, Shekinah, we have the term Mishkan, the dwelling. The Mishkan was the tabernacle, was the tent of dwelling. Why was it called the tent of the dwelling? Because the Ruach, the Spirit, the Shekinah, the Shekinah, the glory cloud abode there, lived there. And who is this cloud? This is Hashem, this is God dwelling among his people. Where was the Mishkan? Where was the dwelling place placed? In the center of the camp. And then the tribes were placed around it so that he was in the very midst of them. And so it is. The Sukkot. The Sukkot is that of God coming, the Mashiach coming to dwell with his people. Sukkot is the time of marriage in Judaism, particularly Orthodox and ultra-Orthodox Judaism. Sukkot is the time of marriage. Now there are many people in Messianicism who say, well, Sukkot, that's the birthday. No, that's not the birthday. The birthday comes prior. The coming of the king comes first. Then comes the judging of the nations, and then comes the dwelling. There is an order to it. Sukkot represents the wedding. But before the wedding, there first must come the coming. And I'm going to show you the coming this morning. And so he says, which is like a bridegroom come out of his chamber and rejoices like a strong man. To run his race, its rising is from one end of heaven to the other, The coming of Mashiach, what does he say? That it will be like lightning flashing from the east all the way across to the west. Every eye shall see him. Just like every eye sees the sun as it makes its transgress across the sky. So every eye shall see Mashiach when he comes. And nothing shall be hidden from its heat. Heat, Aish, fire, representing purgement. Judgment, the purging away of all the unnecessary things from our lives. And so this psalm is about the fall festivals. You notice that at the bottom he says, verse 11, moreover by them your servant is warned, and in keeping them there is great reward, Yom Kippur. That is Yom Kippur. So this psalm is speaking to the fall festivals, to Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and Sukkot. So turn in your scripture. Where do we find it? Revelation chapter 12 tells us the birthday of the King and when he's going to come again. Revelation chapter 12. A great sign appeared in heaven. A woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and on her head a crown of 12 stars. She is pregnant, crying out in birth pains, in agony to give birth. And so we are given a sign. Do you remember the shepherds in the book of Luke, chapter 2? They were also given a sign. What was the sign? You shall find a baby wrapped in swaddling clothes, lying in a manger. Where do babies come from? Pregnant women. Not a trick question, right? Babies come from pregnant women. So what do you have? You have a great sign, a woman who is pregnant. Bear with me just a second. So now a great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and on her head a garland of 12 stars. Then being with child, she cried out in labor and in pain to give birth. And another sign appeared in heaven. Behold, a great fiery red dragon having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 diadems on his head. His tail drew a third of the stars of heaven and threw them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman who was ready to give birth, to devour the child as soon as it was born. In that passage of scripture right there, we are given the very day which Yeshua was born and when he's going to come. Why? Because what John is describing here is a constellation conjunction. And this constellation conjunction occurs in Virgo. And Virgo represents what? Virgo means, it's Latin for virgin. So you have a conjunction taking place with Virgo, the sun, and the moon. And this conjunction happens once a year, every year. One day out of the year, every year. One day. The same day. Every year. So you can mark it. You can live by it. In fact, it sets up all the festivals for the rest of the year. All the festivals for the rest of the year, all the dates, all the days for the rest of the year are set up by this conjunction. Without it, everything is thrown off. So let's take a look at it. So this is Virgo. This is Virgo. Now, as you know, the constellations do not remain in the same place. They move. Well, actually, it's not that the constellations are moving so much. They are moving. They are traveling with us because they're part of the Milky Way. They are traveling with us through the universe. But it is that what? The Earth is spinning. So the constellations are seen in different points. Okay? If you could turn off the sun for a moment, right now you would see constellations above us. They're there. We just can't see them because the sun blocks them out. But there are constellations there. Okay? So as the Earth spins, constellations come in view. But as the seasons also follow, the constellations change their position in the sky. So where are we now? What time of the year are we now? Fall. In fact, what? 21st is the first day of autumn. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. So, what is the constellation of the fall? What is the constellation of autumn? Well, it's the one that's in the western sky, not the eastern sky. This is confusing some people. They're thinking that it's the constellation of the eastern sky. No, it is the constellation of the western sky that is predominant. It is the constellation in the west. Is the constellation we are in. There's a reason for that. Because the constellations follow the lunar, the months, correct? They follow the months, and in fact the constellation in astrology, not that I'm an astrologist, but explaining things to you a little bit, it's not even month to month per se, it is from like day 15 to day 15. Why? Because it's following the lunar calendar the same way that Judaism is. I'm not comparing astrology to Judaism.
So, like we know that it's the new month because the crescent moon is in the...
Because the crescent moon only appears in the western sky. The new moon that tells you that it's the new month only appears in the western sky. So what? Then we are under that constellation. Right now we are in the tail of Leo. So right over here in the western sky at night will be Leo. And as the night progresses, you will see Leo moving to the north, and in will come Virgo. And as Virgo passes through, then will come Libra and then Scorpio. And they parade across the sky through the night. But as the sun sets, we are still in Leo. We're in the Lion. But by next week, we will be where? This will be the predominant constellation in the western sky. This will be the predominant constellation in the western sky. What is this? Virgo. So, you say, well, I don't see Virgo there. I don't see a virgin there. I don't see a woman there. Well, you have to understand some things. This is like a stick picture of Virgo. If you go on the internet, you'll see all kinds of artistic work. And the reason why, this is also very confusing to people trying to figure some things out, and some of the things that have been said lately on the internet and everything like that, because they're not realizing that they're following astronomical figures. Thus, they're only taking these stars. And they're saying that this is Virgo. There are over 100 stars that actually make up Virgo. These are only the main stars, thus the stick figure. Is everybody with me? Now, if you go outside and you look in the night sky, you can find Virgo. She's there. If you have Sky Map or any of those apps, they'll show it to you. But this is what you're going to see. This is what what the Sky Map is going to show you. But we cannot see here, we cannot see the totality of any of the constellations, and not the way they did in the ancient world. Why?
Less light pollution.
Light pollution. So you can't see, you cannot see, we cannot see here in the United States, we cannot see 2/3 of the stars. There's too much light. Even if you get way out in the country, you cannot see the stars the way they used to see it in ancient times. Because the light reflects off of the atmosphere. The whole atmosphere is brighter today at night than it was in ancient times. So we can't see all these stars that they used to see. We're told that the constellations back in the day were actually quite vibrant and quite discernible. Where today, you would say, I don't see that. I know people today that have a hard time finding the Big Dipper and the Little Dipper. And these are the most famous constellations in the world. And so, this is what you'll see. This is Virgo. This is her feet. This is her body. This is her head. This is a hand, and this is a hand. An arm and an arm. So, you have two really important portions here, and that is her right hand. She's laying down, by the way. Don't look for her to be standing up. She's laying down along the horizon. And this hand is going up. And this is called, this portion here between these two stars is called the branch. And this star here, this is the main star of Virgo, and it is called Spica. Everyone say Spica.
Spica.
And Spica means the seed. Say the seed.
Seed.
So you have the branch here and the seed. But she is what? A virgin. Yet she has what? So if you go to Genesis chapter 3, after the fall of Adam and Chava, and God gives them what's coming their way now, the curse. And what is it that God tells the woman? What is it that God tells Chava? Verse 16 of chapter 3, to the woman, he said, I will greatly multiply your sorrow and your conception. In pain you shall bring forth children. Take it back. Look at what it says. She is pregnant. What? In what? In pain. Your desire shall be for your husband, and he shall rule over you. Look at what he says to the serpent up in verse 15. I will put enmity between you and the woman. Not you and the man. This is a strange thing. Why the woman? Why the woman?
She carries the seed.
She carries the seed. The woman is more spiritually attuned than the man. This is why the women do not have to do what the men have to do. This is why it is not ordered for the women to wear talit, to wear tzitzit, to do these things. The woman is not circumcised. The woman, no, these things, the woman does not do these things. Why? Because it is the man who must continually, constantly be reminded. Ladies, honesty check here. Have you ever said to your husband, I've asked you to do this, I've told you to do this, whatever, I demand? No. But have you ever done that? Have you ever get tired of telling your husband over and over, reminding and reminding and reminding and reminding? Why? Because we are doomed to forget. I left home this morning. Every Shabbat, I go through the same routine, through the same routine, through the same routine. This morning, I got thrown off of my routine. I left my big black bag that had everything in it, and it's sitting at home. And I'm here. I don't have my talit. I don't have my Seder book. I don't have anything. So thankfully, my son went and picked it up and brought it over. Forgetful. Do you know that I can be, there's not a day that goes by that I do not walk out of the house, get to the car, and realize that I forgot this, and I have to run back to the house and get it and come back every single day. Not the same thing, different things.
It's part of the routine.
It's part of the routine. We forget. So God gave us reminders, and they are called wives. The woman is more attuned to the spiritual world. This is true. And Judaism teaches this, the rabbis teach us this, that the woman is more attuned. She does not need to be reminded. Who is it that you find mostly in the synagogues and in churches? It's the women. Who is it that has the family devotions, that urges the family devotions and these kind of things, that pushes the devotions and the prayer times and all these things with the family? It's the woman, always. My mother. My dad was a pastor, but it was my mother that pushed the family devotion time. The woman is more spiritually attuned. The man is more connected to the earth. As Rosh says in the book of Romans, that he is of the earth, he is earthy. And so, the truth of the matter is, ladies, you are actually in the forefront of spiritual warfare. Because you're the one. You're the one raising the children. You're the one reminding the husband, and you're the one who is usually the leader in prayer. That is, that you are the one who is the praying person of the house. I can remember coming downstairs in the morning, our old farmhouse, coming downstairs in the morning, and I can remember from the time I was very little until I left home and went to college. I can remember coming down at 6 o'clock in the morning, and my mother would be on her knees in the kitchen praying for us. Praying for her children. And I can tell you that that has a big impact on who I am today. To go down and to be sitting there at the dining room eating breakfast and hear my mom praying for her children one by name. There's an enmity between you and the enemy that does not exist between the men. Because you carry the spirituality of the family within you. And so, it says, I will put enmity between you and the woman, between your seed and her seed. But the woman does not carry a seed. The woman carries the egg. The man has the seed. And so here we have the first clue. to, what is she called? Virgo, virgin. And what is she holding in her hand? Her seed. Spica. And what is this tantamount to? What is this speaking to? What does she hold in her other hand? The branch. Who is the branch? Yeshua, Mashiach. Remember Yeshayahu, Isaiah speaking of the branch of Jesse, of the tribe of what?
Judah.
So this is telling you that she's holding the branch, that what she's holding here, this is the Messiah. This is Mashiach. You have something?
No, I'm stretching. Sorry.
Okay. That's allowed.
Well, the branch and the seed are the same, so.
Yes. They're one and the same. She has in this hand the branch and she has in this hand the seed. By the way, Spica is one of the first stars that you see in the evening. Down by the horizon, when the sun sets, Spica is the brightest star in the western sky at this time of year. Very easy to pick out. Very easy to pick out. So, this conjunction, which we're reading about in Revelation, it happens one time a year. And here's the conjunction. This is what it looks like. This is Virgo. You have Spica, by the way. Spica. Guess what Spica is called? You know, sometimes different people, cultures have different names or whatever. Guess what Spica is called in Hebrew? Serah, which means seed. It's the word for seed. So what happens is, go back to Revelation, chapter 12. A great sign appeared in the heaven, a woman clothed with the sun. That is what? That the sun is setting. By the way, guess what the Hebrew name for Virgo is? Betula. Everyone say Betula. And Betula means virgin. So that she's clothed with the sun. Can you see that she's clothed with the sun? And that the moon, this is the moon. I did the best I could. This is the moon. That the moon is at her feet. Okay, everybody see that? This is a conjunction of Virgo, the sun, and the moon. And it all occurs. Notice what kind of moon do you have?
Crescent.
Crescent, or what we call the what? New moon. This is the setting sun. It appears in the western sky. The setting sun. The sun sets, and in the sky, following the sun, you will see, it looks like a fingernail. The moon looks like a fingernail pointing down to the earth, the first crescent. And so, it's like this. It's a fingernail pointing down to the earth. The sun is setting, and the first crescent. By the way, another correction. What is called the new moon in astronomy is not a new moon. It is actually, literally, it is the dark moon. The new moon in astronomy is no moon. Okay? This is the actual new moon. Now, this is important. Why? By the way, it's not that you see these things here. This must be seen in Jerusalem, in Israel. Okay? You can see the new moon here, but if they don't see it in Israel, it doesn't start the month. It must be seen in Israel. It must be seen in the land. So the Jewish months follow the sighting of the new moon in Israel. Now, they don't right now. Why? Because the temple was destroyed, the Sanhedrin was deposed, And so there's no Sanhedrin to determine that this is a new month. So Rabbi Akiva, during the last Sanhedrin, the Sanhedrin met, and Rabbi Akiva and the final Sanhedrin put everything on the fixed calendar. Why? Because we must stick together. As Benjamin Franklin said, we must hang together, or most certainly we will all hang separately. This is something about Judaism that people don't understand. And there's all these arguments in the Hebrew roots movement and Messianicism and all of these kinds of things. One of the things that people do not understand is this, that Jews must stick together and we must follow. We're all working together as one. It cannot be that that group over there is celebrating on one day and this group over here is celebrating on another day. We all celebrate the same day. So what? We follow the rabbis. Why? Because we're commanded by God in Torah to follow our instructors, our teachers. If they're wrong, the blame is not on you, it's on them. Now we're talking about staying together as a group. We're not talking about committing sins and these kinds of things, but we're talking about, okay, so what day, what these kinds of things. We stay together as a group. Therefore, if you want to know what day we celebrate, you look on the calendar of the Orthodox community. That's who we follow. Now there's this recent push the last several years of spotting the new moon, and over in Israel and all of these things, they're spotting the new moon. That's fine, that's great. There's only one caveat. There's one problem. There is no Sanhedrin. Until there is a Sanhedrin to which to report, a new month cannot be declared in that form. We must go by the ruling of the last meeting of the Sanhedrin. Do you understand? Something else that we must understand and recognize is that we can't just do whatever we want. That's individualism. That's great. But we are a body. We are corporeal. We are corporate. We work together. So you can't everybody just be out there doing your own thing however you want to do, be whatever. Pick and choose. No. We stick together. So, what is this sign? What is this conjunction? This conjunction occurs on Erev Rosh Hashanah. Every single year on Erev Rosh Hashanah we have this conjunction. What is the conjunction? A great sign appeared in the heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet. How do we know that it's Rosh Hashanah? Because Virgo is here, the sun is setting through her, and what is at the feet? Which moon? New moon. Do you know that within 24 hours Virgo will have moved slightly enough, just enough, to the north that the new moon, the second day of the new moon, is beginning to set not under her feet but in Libra. There's only a small period of time in which this conjunction takes place. It is less than a day.
Do you think that's also something that can only be seen in the land?
Excuse me?
That's something that can only be seen in the right way.
Yes, that is also one of the issues that people are not understanding with this conjunction. It's not how you see it here, it's how they see it in Israel. They are on a different latitude and a different longitude than we are. They are in a different position. The height of the land is different. All of that changes perspective. It does not matter how I see it here. It matters only how they see it in Israel. It's always about Israel. The perspective must always be from Israel. So, we may see the moon a little this way or the moon a little this way. That doesn't matter. It's how do they see it in Israel. That's what matters. Because guess what? We're going to see it different. We're on a lower latitude than Israel is. So guess what? We see less of this than what they see. They actually get a fuller picture of this than we do. And then you remember that much of Israel is mountainous. Therefore what? They're higher up in the sky. It's going to change your perspective. This occurs on Rosh Hashanah. So, if a great sign appeared in the heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, the moon under her feet. This is a conjunction taking place on her head, a crown of 12 stars. We'll get to that. She is pregnant, crying out in birth pains and agony to give birth. She gives birth. There is another constellation. I didn't have time to mess with everything. I'm learning more and more about this. By the way, all of this, you can find books all the way back in the 1800s. Pastors, Christian pastors who discovered these things. And get on the internet and just look for it. Google it. The Gospel in the Stars. And how I came upon this, and I've been doing this for 10 years now, how I came upon this was, I was reading that and I was like, that's the birthday. That's the birthday. So I started Googling it, I started researching it, and sure enough, there were pastors all the way back in the 1800s who had come to the same conclusion. There is another constellation that sits right here, and it is called Coma Berenice, or Coma Berenices, actually. Coma Berenices. Berenice was the wife of Ptolemy, Egyptian king and queen, and her husband was out at war, and so she cut off her hair as a sacrifice that her husband would come home safe, and she left it in the temple of one of the goddesses. And when they went back in the morning, the hair was gone. Somebody had stolen it. But the priest came in and said, oh no, the goddess was so pleased with your sacrifice that he took it up and he threw it up in the sky. And look, here it is, all your hair hanging down in this constellation. But before that, it was not known as Bernice's hair. Coma means hair. Bernice's, the hair of Bernice. It was actually a constellation of a mother sitting in a chair holding a child. As in the Catholic icon, Madonna and child, mother and child. It is considered to be a part of the constellation of Virgo. That she's sitting in her chair. All the way back to the early Egyptians, they have descriptions of this constellation as a mother sitting in her chair holding her child. Over here is another constellation called Bootes. B-O-O-T-E-S, Bootes. In non-modern times, Bootes was called by another name, the Great Shepherd. All of this is in constellation of Virgo. That she has the mother and the child, she has the Great Shepherd, she's holding in her hand the branch. She's holding in her hand her seed. And she gives birth. When does it happen? When does it happen? Rosh Hashanah. Erev Rosh Hashanah. When was he born? The evening of Rosh Hashanah.
Erev means evening.
Erev means evening, yes. E-R-E-V. Erev Rosh Hashanah. The evening of Rosh Hashanah. And remember that all of the days, the Jewish day starts in the evening, at sunset. So this is the starting, as the sun sets, this is the starting of Rosh Hashanah. So Rosh Hashanah is his birthday. That's what I'm telling you. Okay? Somebody give me the time. Alright. So you would see Virgo over here. Just to the north of Virgo is Leo. In some of the videos that have been shown around the internet, it is also problematic. Because this is Leo. But modern astronomy does not show this. Modern astronomy only shows this section, just the body and not even the full head, just this right here. All of this is Leo. In fact, there's more. So the recent things that, that they're trying to add planets in to make this happen and that happen because there aren't enough stars and everything like that, that is not true. And it really doesn't take much to research this stuff. How many stars do you count here? Well, let's start here. 1, everybody with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So we don't need to add planets, do we?
No.
The whole constellation is actually there. The problem is, remember what I told you about Virgo, that modern astronomy only shows you the stick figure, more or less, so to speak. Here's Leo. That's what Leo actually looks like. When you put in all of the stars, all of the systems, that's what Leo actually looks like. You see the difference? This is what they would see in ancient times as opposed to that. And not even that, if you would. Just cut all of this off, and all you have is this line here in this little box. And that's supposed to be Leo. No. Now it says that there are 12 stars, right? So if you go to Wikipedia, these are the 12 stars. These are the 12 main stars. If you go to Wikipedia and you Google Leo, you will find that they list the 12 main stars. By the way, even as with Virgo, there are actually hundreds of stars that make up Leo. Now, why is Leo important? Because Leo is what? A lion. And the lion is a symbol of Judah. This is the crown that's on her head. You don't need to add planets. You don't need to add anything else. It's all there already. This happens every year. He's there. He crowns her head continuously. He's always there. The main star for Leo is right here, called Regulus. Regulus means the little king. The diminutive, the little king. Why little king? Why little king? Who is the great king? Hashem. And Mashiach is, if you would, the prince. Do we not call him Sar HaShalom, the Prince of Peace? And so, what is a prince? He's a little king. Saying what though? He is of royalty. He is of royalty. So if you turn to the book of Genesis, the death of Yaakov, verse 49, or chapter 49, he's blessing his 12 sons. Verse 8, Yehudah, Judah, you are he whom your brothers shall praise. Your hand shall be on the neck of your enemy. Your father's children shall bow down before you. What does that sound like? Royalty, a king. Look at the next verse. Yehudah is what? A lion. What is the main star of Leo? The little king. Notice what it says. Notice where Regulus is located. Where?
Right hand.
From the prey, my son, you have gone up. He bows down. He lies down as a lion. Who shall rouse him? Look at verse 10. The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver, Regulus, from between his feet. Where's Regulus? Between his feet. Until Shiloh comes. Who is Shiloh? Mashiach. Until the Messiah comes. This is what is sitting on the head. You have Virgo. Remember, Virgo's laying down. And on top of her is this crown. Cool? You have the birthday of the king. And this tells us also when he's coming again. It is this time of the year, this is what Rosh Hashanah, the coming of the king. That's why the blowing of the shofar, the blasting of the trumpet, to announce what? The arrival of the groom. Then you have Yom Kippur, the day of judgment, the day of purging. And then what? Sukkot, the marriage. You see, what Yom Kippur is for us is the purification of the bride. That he may present you spotless and without wrinkle. All right, we'll close with this. Ready? Oh, and so one more thing for you. Revelation chapter 12. So it says that there's a great dragon ready to devour. So this is Virgo right here. I don't know if you can see it. This is Virgo right here. This is her feet. This is Spica. This is her head. This is the branch. Here's Leo. This is the one I told you. If you look at the form of Leo, it is the modern astronomical form of just the sickle and the box. Here's Regulus. Okay? Everybody with me? So where's this dragon? Right here. This is the dragon. His name is Hydra. His name is Hydra. Where do serpents live?
In the water.
Where do serpents live? Where do snakes live? In the ground. In holes in the ground, right? Do you usually see snakes? Or do they usually remain unseen? So, is it mysterious to us? Is it strange to us that Hydra cannot be seen in this constellation? Because Hydra is beneath the horizon. Where does a snake wait for its prey? Unseen. So this serpent, this dragon, is waiting unseen this is the horizon right here. So when you're looking at the sky on Rosh Hashanah, when you're looking at the sky, you will see Virgo right at the horizon, Leo right at the horizon, Libra right at the horizon. There's the horizon, and then underneath what you cannot see, there's Hydra. Notice that how Hydra looks like a snake? You see that? It really looks like a snake when you see Hydra in the sky. It looks like a snake, a serpent going through. Here's the head, and here's his mouth is open. Ready to do what? What does the scripture say? Ready to do what? Ready to devour the seed. As soon, when? As soon as it's born. Do you remember what happened when Yeshua was born? Immediately Herod tries to kill the child. So, is this a snake? It says a dragon. Well, dragon's a reptile, snake's a reptile. But I've got something cool for you. The ancients saw this. Today in modern astronomy it's called the crater. But notice where the crater is. Right here. Attached to Hydra. And it looks like little
Wings.
This is the dragon. I don't have time to develop it anymore. Oh. But the dragon is there, ready to devour. This is why I'm telling you, Rosh Hashanah is the day. Everything is there, just like it's described. And when there's only one day of the year where the sun sets through Libra and the moon sets through her feet, and that is Rosh Hashanah. Okay, close. So here you have it. Can y'all see?
Yes.
So here you have it. Sagittarius, the winged horseman. Right? Scorpio, who is? Scorpio is? Scorpion. Libra? Virgo? Leo. Okay, and here you have the gospel in the stars. This is the gospel in the stars, saying what? The wages of sin is, what does a scorpion do?
Kills him.
By the way, if you ever see Scorpio, that's not all of Scorpio. There's two stars missing from right here. By the way, this star right here, this yellow star, this big star here, is actually red. It's very prominent. It is the heart of Scorpio. There are two more stars that appear here that make a stinger on Scorpio's tail. What does Paul say? 1 Corinthians chapter 15. What does he say about death? The sting of death is sin. So, Scorpio represents what? The wages of sin is death. The soul that sins shall surely die. This is Scorpio. Now you have next Libra. Libra is a triangle with extensions on it. Basically, if you see it, it's like this with extension. It's a scale, a measuring scale, a weighing scale. Like you put the weight on one side and gold in the other, or what have you. So, why the scale? Do you remember when Nebuchadnezzar's son took over the kingdom and he threw a great and lavish party, and he took all of the things out of the temple, and he saw a hand from heaven come and write on the wall, and he could not read the writing, so he called Daniel the prophet to come. And the writing on the wall said, Mene, Mene, Tekel, Upharsin. And the king asked Daniel to translate, what does this mean? And he said, you have been weighed in the scales and found wanting. You don't measure up. For all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. Guess what? Yom Kippur. This is what this is about. We're all weighed in the scales. We're all weighed in the scales. So what? You have been stung by sin, therefore, you're weighed in the scales and you're found guilty. What is not shown here, something that is really cool, is that this star right here, this side of the scale, there's another star here, there's a star here, and there's a star here. And it makes a cross. And the cross is pushing on this side of the scale, saying what? He fills your lack. It's there in the sky, you can see it. There's a cross. And one of the stars that makes up the cross is this balance beam right here. The Messiah is pushing on the balance, on the scale, in your favor. What you're lacking, where you're falling short, He makes up for all of that. And He brings you into perfection. Not that we deserve it, not that we can earn it, just out of pure, sheer love for us. How does He do this? Through a virgin. He comes from an untainted line. The seed of a virgin. And as a good tzaddik, proving that he's a tzaddik, he offers his life for the nation. He is of the tribe of Judah, the offspring of David, the king. He is Regulus, the lawgiver. The lawgiver gives his life for the lawbreaker. And the lawbreaker comes into fellowship with the lawgiver. And he sets up his kingdom on earth. This is just a portion of the gospel in the stars. Every one of these constellations, every one of them explains the gospel, step by step. There is order to God's universe, and He put these things in the sky as signs for us so that we could help us to understand what it is that He's about. So I can tell you today, there's no doubt in my mind, He wasn't born December 25th. There surely would not have been shepherds out in the field watching their flock by night in the middle of winter. But what is more wonderful to me is He slips in to the final book of Scripture. By the way, this is my real birthday. And this is when I'm coming back. This is why, for all of these years, for centuries, for millennia, the days of Elul are called Yomim HaTeshuvim, the days of repentance. Why? Preparing for the coming of the King of Kings. You only have about 15 days left to Yom Kippur. May we use them wisely as precious moments of soul searching. I will tell you that there are days that I get discouraged. There are days where it's difficult and hard. There are days where I would like to live somewhere else. Do something else. I've been doing this a long time. And I get tired. Then I remember this is for the King. It's all about the King. Helping you, helping me, helping us to realize where we are. How soon, how close it is to us. That we must not give up and we must not give in. That rather we must excel and shine all the more as we see that day approaching us. It's like looking up in the sky and you see some far distant star. But in a week, that star has grown closer and is growing brighter. And by the next week, it's even closer and brighter. And they tell you, well, it's not actually a star, it's an asteroid or a comet or something, and it's headed this direction. What are you going to do? Because there's no avoiding it and it's coming straight at us. What are you going to do? There are those who will live carelessly and they will party, eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die. There are others that would get serious about life, and there are others who would try to make amends with people that have wronged them or that they've been wronged and take these things. There are those that those last few days would be precious to them. And as that star approaches and grows nearer and nearer, the more precious the time comes. The more precious the days become. And the more serious the work becomes. And this is what I'm saying. I'm saying September 23rd, no, September 23rd, that's not the point. The point is that every day is precious. Every day should be lived as though this were the last day. Because I don't know. There was a middle-aged lady, very well known here in the city, driving down the expressway. I was there. I got off the expressway just before it happened. That lady plowed into the back of a semi-truck and instantly she was gone. She did not get up in the morning thinking that that would be the last day of her life. I guarantee you she did not. None of us do. We are to live our days. David said, Lord, teach me to number my days. If I'm numbering them, that's saying what? You see, when I count money, I take it out of my pocket and I do what? Count it. Why do I count my money? It's important to me. But we don't count our days. David said, God, teach me to number my days. Meaning what? Every day is important to you. Take them seriously. That doesn't mean that you have to walk around all grumpy and can't smile. That means that you are about the Father's business. That you are serious about your job, your responsibility, your ministry, your relationship. But one day, all this is going to be done. I long for that day. I hope for it. I'm so tired. I grow weary of hurting. I grow weary of pain. I hate death. I have done so many funerals. I want him to come as soon as he can. But while we're waiting for him to come, we must pull together and become a body. And in effect, this is what he's waiting for. He's waiting for a will and spirit among his people. The sages tell us that the temple was destroyed for baseless hatred. Saying what? There were so many parties of Judaism that none of them could get along. And they hated one another, and they despised one another, and they made fun of one another, and all of these things. And finally God had enough, and he had the temple destroyed. You look at what's happening today. We want Mashiach to come back. We're trying to do whatsoever you please. Follow the rules with a good heart. Pour yourself into a life of godliness. I've said this many times. Whenever we read in Scripture that they did whatsoever was right in their own eyes, it never works out well. It never ends well. There's a reason why God has given to us leadership and sages and wise people to lay down for us what it is we should do and we should not do, how we should live and how we should not live. We must come together and we must unify. Baruch haba b'shem Adonai. Hebrew. Cody, would you close the prayer?